Hi everyone, my name is Lena. I'm 24 years old, and I'm from Indonesia. Just 6 months ago, I could not speak English, not even one full sentence. I wanted to learn, but I was always scared. I didn't know where to start. I felt confused and embarrassed. Maybe you feel the same way right now. But today, I can speak English with confidence. I can talk to people from different countries. I can write emails, watch movies, and even do job interviews in English. And I did it in just 6 months. In this video, I will tell you my true story. How I learned English in a simple, powerful way. I will tell you about my big failure, my plan, and the exact steps I followed every day. I will also share the methods I used to speak faster, sound more natural, and think in English without translating. This is not just my story. This can be your story too. If I can do it, you can do it. So stay with me until the end. Let's begin this journey together. Welcome to English Starline, where we learn English through real stories and real life. Part 1. Failure and Motivation. Since I was a teenager, I had one big dream. I wanted to work for a fashion company in Paris. I loved design. I studied hard at university. I stayed up late working on my portfolio. I watched fashion shows and learned about famous designers. I wanted to create beautiful clothes and share my ideas with the world. One day, I saw a job post from a famous company in Paris. They were looking for a junior designer. My heart started beating fast. I thought, this is my chance. I sent my portfolio and waited. After 2 weeks, I got an email. It said, "Congratulations, Lena! You are selected for an interview." I couldn't believe it. I screamed with joy. I called my parents and told them. I started imagining my new life. Walking in Paris. Working with top designers. Drinking coffee in small cafes. It all felt so real. But then, the interview day came. It was on Zoom. I sat in front of my laptop, shaking. 3 people appeared on the screen. All of them were native English speakers. They smiled and said hello. Then the questions began. The first person asked me, "Can you tell us about your experience in design?" In my mind, I knew the answer. I had practiced it many times. But when I opened my mouth, the words didn't come. I said, I do design many, clothes. I am good." I froze. My hands were sweating. I tried to smile, but inside I was panicking. They asked another question, but I couldn't answer it either. After 10 minutes, one of them said, "Thank you for your time, Lena." I knew what that meant. I had failed. Not because I was a bad designer, but because I couldn't speak English. I closed my laptop and just sat there. My eyes filled with tears. I felt so small. I had worked so hard, and in one moment, I lost everything. Just because of English. That night, I cried. I didn't talk to anyone. I felt ashamed and angry. But deep inside, something changed. I realized something very important. English is not just a language. It is a key that opens doors. Without it, I was locked outside. That night, I made a promise to myself. I will learn English. I will not wait. I will not give up. I will learn it fast, and I will do it my way. Part 2. Decision and Plan. The next morning, I woke up with a decision in my heart. I was still sad, but now I had a plan. I didn't have money for expensive English courses. I couldn't travel to an English-speaking country, but I had something else. My time, my phone, and a strong reason to learn. I decided to create my own system, a system that I could follow every day. 1 year before, I had tried an online English class. The teacher gave me long vocabulary lists and boring grammar rules. I spent hours memorizing words like however, although, therefore. After 3 months, I still could not speak. When someone asked me a simple question like, "What do you do?" I couldn't answer without stopping and thinking, so I knew that method didn't work for me. This time, I needed something different. I asked myself, what do children do when they learn a language? They don't study rules. They listen, they repeat, they use the same words again and again. So that became my plan. I called it my 6-month method. It had one goal: to help me speak English naturally and fast. I divided my plan into 6 parts, one for each month. Every part had a simple focus: speak, listen, repeat, think in English, learn from real life. No grammar books, no tests, just real practice every day. I told myself, Lena, you will treat English like a new friend. You will talk to it, listen to it, live with it. I started the next day. I didn't wait for Monday. I didn't wait for the perfect time. I started with what I had: my notebook, my phone, and a quiet room. And from that day, everything started to change. Let me tell you what I did in the first month. This part changed everything for me. Part 3, 6-month method. Month 1. In the first month, I did something very different. I didn't try to learn new words. I didn't study grammar. I only focused on one thing: using the words I already knew. I started by making a list. I called it my survival sentence list. I asked myself, what do I need to say every day? I wrote down 50 simple sentences. Things like, how are you? Can you help me? I don't understand. I'm learning English. I need a coffee. These were short, real sentences that I could use in daily life. Every morning, I read those 50 sentences out loud. Not 1 time, not 2 times, but 10 times. At first, it was difficult. My tongue felt slow. I made many mistakes, but I didn't stop. After 5 days, something amazing happened. My mouth started to move faster. The sentences became automatic. I could say them without thinking. The next thing I did was speak to myself in English. This may sound strange, but it was powerful. I talked to myself while I was cooking, walking, or cleaning. I said things like, I'm cutting vegetables. I'm washing my hands. It's a sunny day. It felt a little silly at first, but I kept going. No one could hear me. No one could judge me. This was my private classroom. Then I started copying sentences from movies and YouTube videos. But I didn't just read them. I copied the sound, the speed, and the emotion. If a person in the video said, I don't want to go there, I said it the same way, with the same feeling. I repeated each sentence 10 times. At first, I felt tired. But after a few days, I started to sound more natural. By the end of the first month, something changed inside me. I stopped translating in my head. When I wanted to say I'm hungry, I just said it. I didn't think about it in Indonesian first. The words came out naturally. For the first time, I felt like I was speaking real English. This first month gave me confidence. It showed me that learning English is not about knowing more. It's about using what you already know again and again. That's when I knew this method works. And I was ready for the next step. I wanted to speak longer sentences. I wanted to train my brain to think faster. So in month 2, I changed my strategy. And that took my English to a whole new level. Month 2. In the second month, I started training my brain to think in English faster. I called this part the question and answer method. It was simple, but very powerful. Every day, I asked myself small questions in English. Then, I answered them again and again, each time with more detail. My first question was, "What did you do today?" At first, I answered, "I worked." That was okay, but it was too short. So I pushed myself to say more. The next time I said, "I worked on my computer." Then, "I worked on my computer for 2 hours." Then, "I worked on my computer for 2 hours this morning. After that, I made lunch." Every time, I added one more sentence. This helped my brain think in English without stopping. I used many simple questions like, "What did you eat for breakfast?" "How do you feel today?" "What are you going to do tomorrow?" I practiced for 30 minutes every day. Sometimes I wrote the answers. Sometimes I said them out loud while walking. I repeated the same answers many times. I changed the details to keep it interesting. This practice helped me speak faster. I didn't need to translate anymore. My words came more naturally. I also started using more grammar without thinking about it. I didn't study grammar rules, but I was using the correct tenses just by speaking every day. One day, I noticed something exciting. I was walking outside, and I thought in English without trying. I looked at the sky and said to myself, "The sky is blue. The sun is bright today." I smiled. That was a big moment for me. My brain was changing. English was not just a subject anymore. It was becoming part of my thinking. I also continued speaking to myself every day. I talked about my day, my feelings, and my plans. I talked about the food I cooked and the clothes I wore. My vocabulary started to grow because I was using it in real situations. This second month gave me more than just practice. It gave me control. I didn't feel scared when speaking anymore. I started to enjoy it. I was not perfect, but I was speaking clearly and with more confidence. And now I wanted to take the next step, to improve how I sounded. I wanted to speak not just clearly, but naturally. So in the third month, I focused on my pronunciation. That made a big difference. Month 3. In the third month, I focused on my pronunciation. I wanted to sound more natural when I spoke English. I didn't want people to ask me to repeat every sentence. I didn't want to sound like a robot. I wanted to speak with rhythm, emotion, and confidence. I started using a method called the echo technique. It became my favorite way to practice. Here's how it works. First, I chose a short video clip. Sometimes it was a movie scene, sometimes a YouTube video or a podcast. I listened to one sentence, then I paused the video. I repeated the sentence exactly the same way, same words, same speed, same feeling. I tried to match the speaker's voice like an actor. One example I remember clearly was from a movie. The character said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I paused and repeated, "I don't know what you're talking about." At first, it was hard. My mouth didn't move the same way. But after repeating it 10 times, I started to sound better. I did this for 30 minutes every day. I used headphones to listen carefully. I looked in the mirror while speaking to check my mouth and face. This helped me improve my sounds and intonation. After 1 week, I noticed that my sentences sounded smoother. After 1 month, people started saying, "Lena, your English sounds really good." Another thing I did was read short texts out loud. I chose texts with audio, like English audiobooks or YouTube videos with subtitles. First, I listened. Then I read the same sentence out loud. Then, I shadowed the speaker. This means I repeated the sentence right after them, without pausing. It was like chasing the speaker with my voice. This practice was not easy. I made many mistakes. Sometimes I got tired, But I didn't stop. Every day, my tongue became faster, and my ears became sharper. I started hearing the small sounds in English that I never noticed before. I also started to enjoy the sound of English. I played with the tone. I practiced saying things happily, sadly, loudly, or quietly. This made my practice fun. I wasn't just learning, I was performing, like an actor practicing lines for a movie. By the end of the 3rd month, I didn't just speak better, I felt better. I wasn't afraid of speaking to other people. I didn't worry about my accent. I knew I was improving, and I was proud of myself. Now that I could speak clearly and confidently, I wanted to grow my vocabulary. But I didn't want to memorize long word lists. I needed a smarter way to learn and remember new words. That's what I did in month 4. And it worked better than I expected. Month 4. In the 4th month, I focused on learning new words. But I didn't use a dictionary or memorize long vocabulary lists. I tried that before, and I always forgot the words after a few days. This time, I used something different. I called it the story method. Here's what I did. Every day, I chose 5 new words. I picked them from something I read or heard, a YouTube video, a podcast, or an article. Then I wrote a short story using those 5 words. It didn't have to be a real story. It just needed to be fun and simple. One day, my new words were excited, invitation, surprise, arrive, party. So I wrote this story. I was very excited because I got an invitation to a party. When I arrived, I was so surprised. It was my birthday party. I laughed when I wrote it. It was short, but it used all 5 words. Then I read it out loud 10 times. I tried to say it with feeling, like I was really there. After that, I used the words in my own thoughts and daily conversations. I said things like, I feel excited today, or my friend sent me an invitation. I repeated this method every day. 5 words, 1 story, 10 repetitions. After 1 week, I had 35 new words. After 1 month, I had over 150. But more important, I could use them in real life. This method worked because the words were inside a story. I didn't learn just the meaning, I learned how to use them. I could remember them better because I connected them with emotion and context. That made the words part of me. Sometimes I made funny stories, sometimes serious ones. Sometimes the stories were about my real life. Other times, I imagined crazy situations. It didn't matter. As long as I used the words and repeated them, they stayed in my memory. Also, this method made me enjoy learning vocabulary. It wasn't boring, it was creative. It felt like I was building a small world in English, 1 story at a time. By the end of month 4, I felt much stronger in my speaking. I had more words, and I knew how to use them. But now I had a new goal. I wanted to sound more natural when I spoke. I wanted to understand the way native speakers use grammar in real life. So in month 5, I started learning grammar, but not from a book. I learned it in a different way. Let me tell you how. Month 5. In the 5th month, I started learning grammar, but not with books or boring exercises. I wanted to understand how native speakers really speak. I wanted to use grammar naturally, without thinking too much. I noticed something interesting while watching English videos. People didn't always speak the way I learned in school. In school, I learned to say, I am learning English for 5 months. But in real conversations, people said, I have been learning English for 5 months. That made me curious. Why is it different? So I started paying attention to grammar in real life. Every time I heard a sentence that sounded new or strange, I wrote it down in a small notebook. Then I asked myself, why do they say it this way? I searched for answers online or watched grammar videos on YouTube. I didn't try to memorize rules. I just tried to understand how and when people use certain tenses or structures. One example is prepositions. I always got confused. Why do we say on the bus, but in the car? Why at night, but in the morning? Instead of memorizing, I wrote short example sentences, like, I was on the bus when I got the call. She is in the car right now. I like walking in the morning. I always drink tea at night. Every day, I looked at these sentences and used them in my speaking. Over time, the grammar started to feel natural. I wasn't translating or guessing. I just knew what sounded right. Another thing I did was write a short diary in English every night. At first, my sentences were simple. Today I went to work. I felt tired. I ate dinner. But I wanted to improve, so I asked myself, how do native speakers write? I started reading short blogs, articles, and stories. I looked at how sentences were structured. Then I tried to copy that style in my diary. For example, I learned to write. After a long day at work, I finally sat down to enjoy a warm dinner. It felt so good to relax. This helped me use more natural grammar and connect ideas better. I was not writing just for practice. I was writing to express myself, and that made it more powerful. By the end of the 5th month, I was using grammar more correctly. Without fear, without stress, and without thinking about rules all the time. I felt more confident, and I noticed that my English sounded smoother. But I still had one more goal. I wanted to speak freely with real people. I wanted to join real conversations and understand others without feeling nervous. That was my goal for month 6. And that's when everything changed. Month 6. In the 6th month, I wanted to do one thing: have real conversations in English. I had already practiced alone for many months. I could speak full sentences, use good grammar, and sound more natural. But I still had one big fear: talking to other people, especially native speakers. So I made a plan. First, I chose 10 simple conversation topics. Things like, how was your day? What do you do for work? What are your hobbies? What's your favorite food? Where do you want to travel? I practiced answering each question every day. I said my answers out loud. I also wrote them down and improved them. I wanted to speak clearly and without stopping. After 2 weeks, I felt ready. I searched online for English-speaking groups. I found one on Telegram. It was a free group where people from different countries practiced English together. I joined, and I remember the first time I spoke. My heart was beating fast. My hands were cold. I was scared. But something amazing happened. People were kind. They listened. They smiled. They waited when I needed time. Some were just like me, learning, trying, sometimes making mistakes. And that made me feel safe. I spoke slowly at first, but after a few minutes, I started to relax. I shared my ideas. I asked questions. I laughed. Every day, I joined group calls or sent voice messages. Sometimes I just listened. Other times, I spoke for 10 or 20 minutes. I didn't always know the right words, but I kept going, and each day it became easier. I also made friends. One girl from Turkey, one man from Brazil, and a student from Egypt. We practiced together, helped each other, and had fun. Learning English didn't feel lonely anymore. It felt exciting. I also kept my daily routine. I still spoke to myself during daily activities. I still listened to English videos and repeated them. I still wrote my diary. But now I added real conversations. And that changed everything. At the end of the 6th month, I looked back and couldn't believe my progress. I was no longer afraid to speak. I could join meetings, talk to strangers, and express my thoughts. I wasn't perfect, but I was confident. I was proud. I had learned English in 6 months, not with expensive classes, but with daily practice, smart habits, and a strong reason. And then, something beautiful happened. I got another email from the same fashion company in Paris. They wanted to interview me again. This time, I was ready. Let me tell you what happened next. Part 4. Breakthrough Moment. The interview was 1 week later. I spent that week preparing, but this time I didn't feel afraid. I felt excited. I knew I had changed. I was not the same Lena who had frozen on Zoom 6 months ago. I was stronger. I was ready. On the day of the interview, I put on my best clothes. I looked in the mirror and said, "You can do this." I sat down in front of my laptop, took a deep breath, and clicked the Zoom link. The interviewers were the same company, but different people. They greeted me kindly and began asking questions. And this time, I understood everything. When they said, "Tell us about your experience," I smiled and spoke clearly. I have been working as a designer for 2 years. I focus on modern styles and clean lines. My inspiration comes from nature and people's daily lives. I didn't stop. I didn't panic. I didn't translate in my head. I just spoke. My sentences were smooth. My voice was steady. I was speaking English, not perfectly, but confidently. They asked more questions. I gave full answers. I even made a small joke, and they laughed. That made me feel even better. At the end of the interview, one of them said, "Thank you, Lena. It was great talking to you." I closed my laptop, put my hands on my face, and cried. But this time, I cried happy tears. I knew I had done my best. I had come so far, and no matter what happened, I was proud of myself. 2 days later, I got the email. I opened it slowly. My heart was beating fast. It said, "Congratulations, Lena. We are happy to offer you the position. Welcome to the team." I screamed. I ran to tell my parents. My mother started crying. My father smiled and said, "I told you, you could do it." With my first salary, I bought my mother a gold necklace. She had always wanted one, but never bought it for herself. For my father, I bought a watch he had admired for years. When I gave them the gifts, they said, "You didn't have to do this." But I said, "Yes, I did. This is my way to say thank you. You believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." That moment was more than success. It was love. It was growth. It was proof that I had changed, not just my English, but my life. And now, I want to share the most important lessons I learned. These lessons can help you too. They are simple, but they are powerful. Let me tell you. Part 5. Lessons Learned. Here are the most important lessons I learned on my journey. These lessons helped me speak English in 6 months, and they can help you too. Lesson 1. Mindset is everything. At the beginning, I didn't believe in myself. I thought English was too hard. I thought I was too old to start. But when I changed my thoughts, I changed my results. I stopped saying, "I can't speak English," and started saying, "I'm learning, I'm improving." That one change made all the difference. Lesson 2. Make English part of your life. I didn't just study English, I lived with it. I listened to English podcasts while walking. I watched videos with subtitles. I changed my phone to English. I talked to myself in English when I was cooking, cleaning, or getting dressed. I surrounded myself with English every day. Little by little, my brain got used to it. Lesson 3. Speak without fear. I used to be so scared of making mistakes. But then I learned something important. Mistakes are part of learning. Every time I made a mistake, I learned something new. And I noticed that most people don't care if your English is not perfect. They are happy that you're trying, so speak, make mistakes, learn. That's how you grow. Lesson 4. Use active listening and shadowing. Don't just listen to English, repeat it. Copy it. Echo the sounds, the rhythm, the emotion. When you shadow native speakers, you train your ears and your mouth at the same time. This helped me sound more natural, and it helped me understand fast English. Lesson 5. Learn vocabulary in context. Don't just memorize words. Use them in sentences, in stories, in real life. When I used the story method, I remembered words better because they had meaning. I could use them when I needed them, not just in my notebook. Lesson 6. Learn grammar naturally. I didn't study grammar books. I listened, I noticed, and I asked questions. I learned the grammar that people really use in daily life. And I used it again and again until it became automatic. Lesson 7. Be consistent. You don't need to study for 3 hours a day. Just do something every day. Some days I practiced for 2 hours, some days only 20 minutes. But I never stopped. I made English a daily habit, and that habit changed everything. These are the lessons that helped me become fluent. They are simple, but they work. And now, I want to help you do the same. So let's practice together right now. Are you ready? English practice plus call to action. Let's do a small practice together. This will help you speak and think in English. You don't need a teacher. You can do this anytime, anywhere. First, repeat after me. I will say a sentence. Then you say it out loud. I can learn English. I'm improving every day. Mistakes help me grow. I believe in myself. My English is getting better. Great job. Now let's do some question and answer practice. I will ask you a question. You answer out loud in your own words. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Just pause the video and speak. Question: What did you do today? Question: What did you eat for lunch? Question: What do you want to do tomorrow? Now try adding more details to your answers. Say more each time. This is how I trained my brain to speak faster and think in English. You can also write your answers in the comments. I will read them. Tell me, what is your dream job? Write it in English. Let's share and support each other. Remember, every time you speak or write in English, you are improving. Keep going. Your future self will thank you. And now, before we finish, I have one last message for you. Thank you for staying with me until the end of my story. I hope it gave you hope. I hope it made you feel stronger. Because this is not just my story. This can be your story too. 6 months ago, I was afraid to speak. I was confused, embarrassed, and silent. Today, I speak English with confidence. I talk to people from different countries. I got my dream job. I changed my life. And if I can do it, you can do it too. It doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter if you feel slow, shy, or stuck. What matters is that you start, today, right now. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need a native accent. You need one thing, a decision. A decision to try, to learn, to speak, to grow. Even 5 minutes a day can make a difference. Just don't stop. Surround yourself with English. Speak to yourself. Listen and repeat. Write, read, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Because the pain of practice is small, but the pain of regret lasts forever. So what will you choose? Choose effort, choose progress, choose your future. Thank you for watching this video on English Starline. If my story inspired you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Let's grow together, step by step. I believe in you. Your English journey starts now. Let's do this together. Thanks for watching English Starline. Subscribe now to keep learning English through the amazing stories of famous lives.